In today's video, we're going to be underpainting with Distress Ink and using stencils. Hi, I'm Stacy. Welcome to my channel. I hope you enjoy and are inspired to create. Let's jump right in and get started. Right now I'm going to be using some Bristol Smooth cardstock, and I have some Distress inks there in different colors. I have a silicone mixed media mat. This is a Hobby Lobby branded one, but there's many out there that you can use. You can also use your glass mat, you can use a grip mat, whatever you have in your stash. And I'm just going to blend these inks, and I'm going to start from lightest and work down to my darkest. And this Bristol Smooth cardstock is phenomenal for doing ink blending, especially with Distress inks that are designed to blend and stay wet a long time. So what I'm doing right now is I'm going in and I'm just going to do a light coating of layer of these inks. If I was just blending a background, I would go in and layer and layer and layer and make it darker, but I really want to be light since we're going to be bringing a stencil in. And you're probably asking, underpainting with ink and a stencil with Copic coloring? Underpainting is a term that's used a lot in watercoloring because you'll put down a color and for your background, and then you let it dry and you paint over it, and the color will shine through. Or it's done in acrylic painting. It's done in a lot of painting, but you can do it with Copics because Copics are transparent, so whatever you put underneath will peek through, and depending on what you put underneath and the colors that you put underneath and the colors that you put on top will determine how much of that comes through. So with this card, I'm going to go through the entire process of it, and then I've got more cards at the end of the video that I shared the finished product with you, just to show different examples and different looks. Using some of the same products, but also some different products as well. It still has Distress ink, it has different stencils, it has the same stamp set, so that hopefully you can get an idea of what different looks you can get. And it may be for you and it may not. I thought it was a lot of fun to play around and get different looks. And in the end too, they kind of have a monochromatic look. Not all of them, but pretty close, which is a fun look too. And this is very similar to what I showed on a previous video, doing coloring over pattern paper and how much of that pattern paper you want to shine through, whether you're going to pick something that you can cover up with your markers, or you're going to get a pattern in the background that you want to also come through. So I just I did the ink blending, and then I got out my waffle flower grip mat, and I put it down, and I'm going to take this stencil, and this is just a stencil I got on Amazon. My husband purchased it for me, and then I took some post-it masking tape and taped off the edges because the stencil's not as wide as the card. So you could choose to cut your cardstock down, you could choose to use a wider stencil, you know, you could get different looks, and I just thought that I would just use, honestly, this was a piece of Bristol Smooth paper that I already had cut up, and I liked the size, so I went with it. Now I'm going in with those same colors, but I'm coming in with a heavier hand with them because I want them to be darker in color and that stencil pattern to show. And I also know that my markers, I want that to peek through. The markers, that pattern to be behind the markers and the other image that I'm going to put on top of this and actually come through. So I'm going in with a pretty heavy hand in these colors. And when I picked out the colors to color with too, that plays a part in it. Because if I'd went with some different colors, it would have possibly covered up the pattern of the stencil in the background, or it, when you use an undercoating like this, an underpainting, those colors affect the colors that you put on top. So let's say I went with some yellows on here. It's going to make an orange color, or you can even get kind of a muddy color, which is fun too if you used a different color. Like, I think I use a green in here, but it could have possibly turned it a more muddy color. So just play around with it. It's a lot of fun to see the different looks you can get. And this honestly could have been a really pretty card with just the stenciling and a sentiment on top. So hopefully you're inspired. You see something here that makes you want to go get out your crafty supplies and add it in your stash and create. Because that's what I'm trying to share. I use a lot of products that have been in my stash for a long time that are older. I do buy new stuff. I try not to, you know. But I'm always late to the game. I wait for things to go on sale. I'm kind of frugal in that way. I don't like paying full price. Anybody else like that? And this is a Gina K and Hero Arts stamp set. It was a collaboration one. And I think it's like Friendship Blooms. I think it's what it's called. And it may still be available out there. I'm not sure. I've had it for a while. And it's a large stamp set. So I'm just taking and positioning it on my cardstock. I don't know if you saw originally, I used the carrier sheet from the stamp set to kind of lay out to get an idea of how those flowers were going to lay and look. And then I took my stamp and laid it on top and picked it up with my Misty. And I put that waffle flower grip mat back in my Misty before I stamped these out so it would hold the cardstock in place. And then I'm just going to color these up with some R markers. And I believe I left all of the coloring in here. So it's a lot. So if you're not into watching the coloring, just fast forward. I wish I had a time mark, but I'll start trying to bring that stuff in my videos, guys. Each time I put a new video out, I really try to add something different into it or think about what not only I like to do, but what you guys may want to watch. Because that's the goal, right? The goal is to inspire you. Because when I watch other creators, I watch other crafters and their shares, it's fun to watch their channels, get to know them through their videos, but also to be inspired and create. And there's so many wonderful videos out there and so many wonderful crafters and people. So what I'm going to do is post this for Saturday Morning Makes, which is an open hashtag driven collaboration that was created and hosted by Jill Norwood. I'll leave all the information down in the description. Just use that hashtag satmornmakes. And you can use it to share, you can use it to search, and it has a lot of wonderful crafters in it, a lot of wonderful people, and they're all supportive and they're all wonderful, and just there's so many different styles. It's really fun. So I'm trying to keep the coloring fairly simple. With florals, it's really easy to color them up and make them look beautiful without having shading in the proper places or, you know, that realism, or you can get really detailed and have realism. And I kind of, throughout the card process, because this is the same image I used on all the cards, and I think I did four cards in the end, I noticed that I got a little bit more detailed on some of them, and it was a lot of fun to color this image over and over and over. And as you can see, that stamp set is well loved. I've used it a lot. You can use part of the image, you can use the entire image. It's just a beautiful stamp set. So you could really add some depth here, but it's also very forgiving if you just want to color simply, not be too complicated. It is a lot to color, so if you're really detailed, because of it being a detailed stamp already and a large stamp, it takes a while. And it took a while. I planned on having this video edited and out already on my channel, and I'm hoping that I can get this finished and uploaded, because my internet gets bogged down on the weekends for Saturday Morning Makes on Saturday. If not, it'll be up there probably Sunday, so we'll see which day it makes it up. So I don't know. What have you guys been up to? I feel like if I just tell you what I'm doing with my markers, I'm going from darkest to lightest and then back. And there might be a couple areas that I went from lightest to darkest and then tried it that way, because it is a lot to color. So when you go from darkest to lightest to back, it's can take longer, and when you go from lightest to darkest, I don't feel like I get as good of a blend. However, it's quicker because you're not going back over the entire image with that lightest marker to wash those colors out, because the lightest marker kind of lifts the darker markers. And I think I did try it in here to go from lightest to darkest. It may have, but I didn't like the blend as much. So what have you guys been up to? Is it warm in your area? I talked about the weather last time. Is that something we do as we get older? I don't know. But I talked about the weather last time and that it went from cold to really hot to cold, and now it's getting hot again. And one of my neighbors said, "Nice weather we're having now." And I was like, "Yeah, it's nice out." I go, "But it's getting a little too hot already, because we live where it gets in the triple digits really fast. There's not a lot of nice weather, so I'm not looking forward to it. I'd rather it be cold and put some sweaters on, because it's hard to cool off in the summer, and the ACs up here work so hard. It messes with my sinuses. Anybody else? As I've gotten older, I've gotten allergies, and my sinuses are just horrible, which is so weird. I never had problems like that before. Anyway, talking about my ailments. What have you guys been up to? Have you been creating? Have you had time to craft? Have you had time to watch or just watch videos? I do that a lot. I just play them in the background, even if I'm not totally paying attention. When I'm coloring this, as you can see, like some of that stencil's peeking through. And so it's going to give you texture. It's going to, depending on what you're using too, like this would be really cool if these butterflies were in reverse, so that it really picked up the outlines. That would be cool. Or you could probably put the ink on your stencil and use it like a stamp and press it down so that the outlines of the butterfly are actually what's in the background. I noticed that like the edges there that kind of look like, it almost looks like twisted rope to me, but I think it's part of like I think those are supposed to be trees or like foliage in the background. And I noticed those really peeked through, especially on the bottom where I used that picked raspberry. It was really cool. Do you see how detailed these stamps are? Like this was a lot of coloring. And I totally enjoyed it on the first one, but I wanted to make more cards to give you more examples. And I enjoyed it on the second one. I was super, super really like, there's one at the end that I'll tell you is just, to me, stunning. Like it's really pretty and impactful. And by the time I got to some of the other ones, I was like, man, because I should have spaced it out, and I really wanted to put out the content for you guys. So it was a lot of coloring. So know that when you go into an image like this, that this image is a lot of coloring. But it's fun. And honestly, guys, I'm feeling like bogged down today. I don't know what to talk about. I mean, I feel like I just, like, when I put these videos out and I'm like, this is what I'm doing, this is that. And I love those videos, but also sometimes I really enjoy the videos where people talk about themselves, their family, their fumbles, because it allows me to feel more connected to the person I'm watching. And I've made wonderful friends from YouTube, like really great friends. And we get to talk crafty talk, and I don't really have that in my area of like people I know in person. And so it's really a nice community to, when you share a common interest that maybe you don't have in your real life, that you get to know these people. And I've made some wonderful friends. And so I try to share a little bit about my life. It's not real exciting, you know? And I try to keep things real positive on my channel. So tell me what you like. Do you like to get to know the people that you're watching? Do you prefer the tutorial type videos? Do you prefer, maybe not even having the process here? I try to put the process up because I enjoy watching that. So I try to put out things that I know I enjoy and that I'm going to enjoy, not only what I enjoy watching, but what I enjoy doing. But I can tell you that these videos, like, go out and when you watch these creators, comment and give them, encouragement, because this is a lot of work, and I didn't realize how much work it is and how hard it is and how hard it is to be entertaining or carry a video, and then also just the time to edit it, right? The time to edit it, put it up, and when in your efforts, like, I can tell you how much effort, how much time that I've been putting into these videos. It doesn't show up. It doesn't show up in my views. It doesn't, show up in my subscribers. And that's okay, because I know that there are certain people out there that really enjoy it. And there's a few that let me know all the time. And that's why I'm doing it. So, if you're doing YouTube and you're discouraged because maybe your subscriber count is not up, or your views are not up, sit back and question why you're doing it. Did you start it because you wanted to have the views? Did you want this or that? And then just, do it for that. But I've been trying to push for 1,000 subscribers, and it's like trickly slow, And then I had to remember, like, this is why I was doing it. I do it because I'm hoping that there's, even if it's just a couple of people who are inspired, that's why I'm doing it. If it's to keep in touch and feel connected to the crafty friends I have, that's why I'm doing it. I'm also doing it because I like to create, and it encourages me to create if I'm putting out some content. Because I don't know about you guys, but I suffer from depression and a lot of other things, and this will get me out of bed. So just ask yourself why you make your videos and do it for that. These are some dies that I got recently at Joann's, and these are Sizzix dies from Tim Holtz. These are really cool, and I used them on every card. And they're really tall and thin. And it's like I could put a few words on there where some of the other alphabet dies you can't. So this is like really genius how these were done. So I'm gluing those flat to the card. And if you can you tell where the butterfly in the background's peeking through those flowers? I really like the look. And then I'm going to show you a couple where it's a little more hidden, and I like all the looks. And then I just got out some gemstones that I had from some embellishments from Trinity Stamps. And Spectrum Noir, like the clear glitter pen. I love adding it to everything. And it's nice because it doesn't overwhelm the card with shimmer. And sometimes you can't even see it unless you're in the right light, which is kind of cool, because then it catches the light and then the recipient goes, whoa, what was that? I've received cards from people and they use this glitter pen or some sort of form of this clear glitter. Maybe it's Wink Estella too. And I'm like, you don't see it, and then it hits the light and you're like, oh, so pretty. Look at that shimmer. Ooh, sparkly, right? And then I took a white gel pen, and there's like little berries on this stamp set, and I just kind of dotted those. Do you see the stencil peeking through? Now, you maybe not like that effect, but I did. And then here's another one I created, and this one peeks through a lot. I used 2 different colors, and it peeks through those flowers a lot more. And then I have another example here, which the stencil hardly shows up through the flowers, and I like that look too. And I didn't put as much of the stampers on that. Now, this is probably my favorite. It reminds me of a black and white photo. And I only put some ink in the center there very lightly and then went through a stencil. So I hope you enjoyed. If you liked my video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.